Let's send it back out to the air show narrator, Rob Ryder.
Union free earplugs. The Oklahoma Aeronautics Commission works with all of our statewide airports and aviation industry. Each year they sponsor the children's area. This year, the Oklahoma Aeronautics Commission is the presenting sponsor for STEM City, thanks to our State Aeronautics Commission. The Pippin family salutes and is grateful for all the men and women in the armed forces. We always appreciate this great free community event. That's Pippin Properties, sponsors of Jeff Shetterly from the Shetterly Squadron. The Greater Oklahoma City Chamber of Commerce and the Oklahoma City Convention and Visitors Bureau welcomes all of you to our show today. Coming up in just a moment as the KC-135 Stratotanker touches down here on runway 18. We're going to go back to World War II in just a moment. Prior to the United States entry into World War II, Great Britain was already at war with Germany, and it was in the summer and early fall of 1940 that the Battle of Britain was taking place. And an airplane was being flown by British pilots that was built here in America, the Curtiss P-40 Warhawk. But when Curtiss couldn't keep up with production demands, North American Aviation was contacted by the British Purchasing Commission to build P-40s under license. Well, Dutch Kindleberger said, we don't want to build somebody else's airplane. We don't want to do that. We'll build you something totally new. And 120 days later, an airplane did that. From the left, representing the Tuskegee Airmen, the aircraft that has changed the way aerial combat took place. This is the P-51C Mustang. The Mustang fought ably alongside the Hurricanes and Spitfires of the Royal Air Force. But this particular one is a very rare P-51C model Mustang. It is flown today by Doug Rosendahl, and the red tail signifies that it is in honor of America's first black airman, the Tuskegee Airmen. It was believed by some in World War II that black men could not fly airplanes, and they wanted to serve. And eventually enough political pressure was brought on those people to set up a squadron of all African American men to prove they couldn't fly. Well, guess what? They were wrong. They could fly. They could fight. And this is the airplane in which they gained their fame. The Tuskegee Airmen overcame incredible political and social barriers, and yet with the persistence and their ability shown, they came to be among the most requested escort fighters in all of World War II. Initially, they were shunned by the bomber pilots because they didn't want black guys on their wings. But the Tuskegee Airmen were very, very careful not to just chase after a German Focke-Wulf FW-190 or a Messerschmitt Bf-109. They stayed with the bombers to protect them from the onslaught of those aircraft when they were on their way to the target in German-held Europe. And as a result, they became accepted by those bomber pilots, and this aircraft is known as by request because in many cases they were requested to be there. Powering this Mustang is an engine, not the original engine that was on the Mustang. The first Mustangs and Mustang engines were Allison V12 engines, but they did not perform well enough at high altitude to keep up with the Hurricanes and Spitfires during the Battle of Britain. So some enterprising British engineers said, wait a minute, why don't we take one of our Rolls-Royce Merlin engines and put it on the front of this airframe? And that combination with the dual supercharger of the Rolls-Royce Merlin engine and this incredible airframe with its very radical new laminar flow wing made the Mustang the iconic aircraft that it is today, that always shows up on the top 10 lists of the best fighter aircraft of all time.
Back here at Broadcast Central, delighted now to be joined by John Sneeden from the Air Force Lifecycle Management Center. He's the director of the Propulsion Directorate. And, sir, how are you on this Air Power Sunday?
Oh, I am so good. Absolutely excited to be here. This is the first air show I've been to in many years, and I love being able to attend one right here in my home state of Oklahoma. So this has been fantastic.
That's awesome. Thanks so much for taking the time to sit down and join us. Tell us a little bit about who you are and the background on your career.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, I'm currently the director of the Air Force Propulsion Directorate out of AFL-CMC. Been doing this for almost 25 years now, and I actually got my start as an intern. I started in my late 20s and came in via career fair. And in fact, on that note, we're actually having a career fair or hiring event, for the Air Force to bring in all the next generation talent. It's going to be at the Reed Center in Midwest City on July 19th, and you can check it out at airforceciviliancareers.com. And highly encourage people to come in and take a look at that. But that's how,
for you.
Yeah, that's how I got started, right? So it worked out perfectly. But for me, I had a chance to come in and started out pretty basic, working program management, logistics type stuff, and then kind of working into more and more, harder and harder jobs for management leadership positions. More complexity, larger scope. But been able to hit ICBMs and F-16s and trainer fleet and T-38 and T-6 and do the tankers, KC-135 and KC-10. We just saw the tanker just a little bit ago. And propulsion and even had a chance to run out at the Pentagon. But, what I will say about my time in the Air Force is that the opportunities have just been absolutely fantastic. I've never been denied one. It's always been, just as far and as fast as you want to go. I've had the best mentorship and leadership that you could possibly ask for.
Yeah, it's important.
And they've helped me grow and evolve and become. In fact, even funding 2 advanced degrees for me. And overall, I'm just blessed to, be in the job that I am. Work with the best people, doing the best mission, and in support of something I care very deeply about.
And so at the AFL-CMC, I had to look at the paper because I can't spit it out the way you did.
Yeah, it's a little bit of a tongue twister, right?
That's a mouthful, but I know you're in the propulsion directorate, but there's a lot that goes on. Can you tell us a little bit about the overall mission? Because
absolutely,
we talked about opportunities, but there's tons of
it's
it.
extremely broad, right? So AFL-CMC is one of 6 centers across Air Force Material Command, and they're charged with acquiring and sustaining war-winning capabilities. So basically, from the time a weapon system comes to be to the time it goes in the boneyard, that cradle-to-grave support. So, and I love the way that AFL-CMC says it. They said, if airmen fly it, fuel it, transport it, drive it, wear it, shelter in it, communicate with it, or drop it on target, AFL-CMC provides it. So it's really a very large scope, but think about us as the weapon system managers, the subsystem managers. 9 U.S. locations, including Tinker, 70 locations that we operate out of worldwide. Have oversight of over $300 billion and manage every Air Force aircraft that's in the fleet today. So a really, diverse portfolio, again, with some of the most complex problems, but with some of the best people tackling them.
Yeah. And so we know that the theme of this year's air show is STEM Takes Flight.
Right.
What is the importance of STEM to you? We kind of heard a lot about it. But
Yeah, absolutely. So as the Air Force continues to grow, it's becoming more and more complex. The systems that we're working on are more and more challenging than they've ever been before. So getting that science, that engineering, that core capability in here to be able to fuel the fight tomorrow is what STEM's all about for us. So we're very interested in having the right skills base and growing the Air Force where it needs to be. So STEM, we're all for it, and bring the best on. We need them.
We're talking with John Sneeden from the Air Force Lifecycle Management Center. He's the director of the Propulsion Directorate. He's part of the Senior Executive Service, and he's been here before, but he's been here 3 years on this tour. But when you talk about that hiring event that's happening July 19th, I kind of wanted to circle back to that, because my thought is there might be some people who are saying, I'm not really necessarily interested in doing, this on a jet, but there's a lot of opportunities with this hiring event. Like, what is the range of opportunities or folks you're looking for?
Well, the range is anybody from program management to logistics to engineering so anybody that has an interest in serving the Air Force, serving something, a higher purpose type of a focus, serving our mission, serving our warfighters, serving this nation. We would love to have you. And of course, we're always looking for the best and brightest, and we need them to be able to ensure that the Air Force can fly, fight, and win tomorrow. But one and all are welcome.
Awesome. And so we ask a lot of people who come to the table this, so you're at an air show. There's obviously, the high-profile acts, the F-35
Sure.
or the Blue Angels, but there's also a lot of other cool aircraft. But what is your favorite aircraft, or at least family of aircraft, if you don't have one?
Well, definitely a family of aircraft. I've always been a fighter guy, so love that beautiful sound of freedom, and that's what the Propulsion Directorate does. Is we provide that 24/7, 365. So whether it's coming out of an F-35 or coming off of our F-22, I love that rumble in your chest. That's what brings the excitement, and it certainly is my favorite part.
I kind of suspected that might have been the answer, so that's why I went with family.
Yeah, for sure.
So. Really, thank you for your time. Thank you for what the AFL-CMC does for, the nation, and obviously for, the Oklahoma community as well.
Oh, perfect. Thanks so much for having me here. And again, I hope to see everybody out at the hiring event coming up on 19 July.
All right, we're going to send it out now back to the Air Show Central and Rob Ryder.
As soon as Doug Rosendahl clears the runway, we're going to take you back to the dawn of the jet age. Lockheed Aircraft Company, Kelly Johnson, the legendary Kelly Johnson, helped develop this next airplane that was the first production jet fighter in the United States Air Force. It was known as the P-80 Shooting Star. Later, when the Air Force became its own service, it became the F-80 Shooting Star. But it was a tough airplane to handle, and the Air Force and Lockheed decided they needed a trainer version. And that's what we're seeing today. Taking off right now, this is the Lockheed T-33 Shooting Star, piloted by Greg Wired Collier. This is a very challenging airplane to fly because of the way the intakes are set up and the fact that it is a centrifugal flow turbojet engine. It is very, very sensitive and hard to fly well. And the early jet engines also had some problems in that it was hard to slow down, and if you shove the throttle forward too fast, you could literally flame the engine out. The super slow roll. The airplane was a handful, and as a matter of fact, it cost the life, it took the life in an accident in one of these P-80 shooting stars of America's top ace in World War II, Lieutenant Richard Bong. Got a couple of more passes, including a photo pass. So you'll be able to look right down in the cockpit. Down into the office of a T-33. The Allison turbojet engine that powers this aircraft generates about 5,400 pounds of thrust. Those turns there are pushing him down in his seat at about 6 times the force of gravity. We all stand here on Earth with 1 G, 1 gravity. A 200-pound guy, 200 pounds. At 2 Gs, that 200-pound guy is going to weigh 400 pounds. At 3 Gs, that guy's going to weigh 600 pounds. Let's just say for a guess that Greg weighs 200 pounds. That's 6 times his normal body weight, or 1,200 pounds, is how he's being forced into the cockpit, into that seat right now. And he's doing what they call the Hick maneuver, absolutely contracting all the muscles in the lower part of his body and going Hick to keep the blood up in his head so he doesn't pass out. Now, I have used the terms T-33 and P-80 and F-80 kind of interchangeably. P for pursuit became F for fighter when the Air Force became its own service on September 18th of 1947. Low and to the right. In a 4-point hesitation roll. On May 5th of 1949, the T-33 was given its official designation. Even though it had no official United States Air Force name, it was known as the T-Bird. From the left for the photo pass, here comes Wired. The ace maker, Greg Collier, has been given permission to land, and he will do so. He'll land from our left on runway 18. By the way, if you wonder maybe why they call these runways by certain numbers, they are called that based on their magnetic direction. So if you were to walk out in the middle of this runway in front of us with a magnetic compass, you would see it aligned pretty much with 180 degrees to the south, and its reciprocal, or 360 degrees, almost due north. And so, in order to make it a little easier, they pick the nearest 10 degrees of magnetic direction, lop off the last 0, and then they give it the runway numbers. Here, 1836. If it's east and west, it's 0927 for 90 degrees and 270 degrees. Now let's watch as Wired approaches from the left. Early jet aircraft needed parachutes to help slow them down. And other newer aircraft use aerodynamic braking, keeping the nose wheel off and using the wings and fuselage for brakes. But let's watch Wired, Greg Collier, as he touches down. He's going to do something a little unique here to help him slow down. He's literally going to open the canopy part way to help him slow down. with his air show smoke on, that paraffin-based oil, environmentally safe, that's injected into the exhaust stack. One final round of applause, if you will, for Greg Collier in the T-33 Shooting Star, the T-Bird.
We saw the Wings of Blue parachute team in the sky earlier this morning, but sitting with us here on the ground now is Cadet First Class Georgia Butler. Thanks so much for talking with us today.
Of course, I'm happy to be here.
So, tell us a little bit about what it is that you do.
Yes, so I'm a parachuter jumper on the Wings of Blue, and specifically the demonstration team. So we jump in here to air shows, football games. We also have a competition team, and we get to travel all over, talk to so many amazing people. And most importantly, we teach the Airmanship 490 program out in Colorado Springs at the Air Force Academy, where we teach hundreds of students every summer how to free fall or skydive, and they'll get actually 5 solo skydives, which is awesome.
So what was it like the very first time you had your solo skydive? What was that feeling like?
It's hard to remember. It feels like it was a blast of wind, and then I don't even remember what happened next. But
you blacked out.
Yes, but as soon as that parachute opened and I saw those beautiful mountains in Colorado Springs, I remember just screaming as loud as possible because I thought, no one can hear me. But I was so excited and just ecstatic that, I have a canopy and I could see what I could see from up there.
Wow, that's amazing.
Yeah, so I'm really interested. Tell us a little bit about, where you grew up and then how you ended up deciding to choose to go to the United States Air Force Academy.
Definitely. So I grew up primarily in Minnesota, just west of Minneapolis, but I grew up a little bit everywhere. My dad was a helicopter pilot in the Army, and so I lived in Florida a little bit, Colorado as well, before the academy, Texas, and then ultimately ended up in Minnesota. Seeing my dad, working with the Army definitely inspired me to also pursue that path in the military, but I also knew I just wanted to be a part of something that was bigger than myself coming out of high school, and the academy is just a perfect opportunity. There's no other place that you can even solo and skydive like at the academy.
So what would you say to the young generation now who maybe they have an interest in aviation, or maybe they don't know what to do with their life? What advice would you have for them on whether they should join or not?
I would say go for it because, like I said, the opportunities are endless, and you have no idea what you could be missing out on if you don't just try something. Just like if you're afraid of skydiving, I say it takes 2 seconds of courage to just stand in the door, and once you're out there and you do it, it's like you didn't even realize what you were missing out on.
Yeah.
And so, very similarly, getting out there, trying something, you'll meet amazing people, you'll see amazing places, and it's definitely worth it at the end of the day.
So I think some people might be curious, you go to I won't name a particular school, but, a state university or something like that. What's it like to go to the United States Air Force Academy? I think people might have maybe a misperception about what life is really like.
Yes, so at the Air Force Academy, it's definitely different than any other college experience. For me, the biggest thing is becoming super close with people. From day one, basic training, I have 25 of my closest and bestest friends still to this day, going into my 4th year now, and I still know them. And so I would say that camaraderie and that part of, pushing through those hardships together was unexpected but amazing and unlike any other college.
I think when a lot of people think about joining and they're hesitant, it's because they don't want to leave their family, but then you go there and you create like a whole new family of your own, so It's not like you're alone. You have a family with you the whole time. That's awesome.
Definitely. And on these air shows too, my entire team, we are a family, so everywhere we go, we're with each other, and it's awesome. Just like at the academy, you have that family.
And so you mentioned to us a little bit earlier, you're going to school, and the theme of this year's air show, STEM Takes Flight. Do you have anything to say about just the importance of like science, technology, engineering, mathematics that is important to aviation?
Yes, for sure. So, for example, at the Air Force Academy, we're all required to take those physics classes, calculus, chemistry, and I'm a psychology major myself, and so I absolutely love STEM, but more importantly, I've learned just how important STEM is as both a skydiver and someone interested in aviation. Knowing how things work and operate, so if something goes wrong, is extremely important. Being able to think through a decision-making process and how you can solve problems collaboratively with others is super huge and important. And so just through those few examples, STEM is a great path. And yeah.
And as we get ready to wrap it up, can you maybe tell folks what it is you're planning to do in the Air Force as we get ready to see you at a base near us?
Yes, sir. So going into my senior year, I'm hoping to possibly either do aerospace physiology, which is essentially working with pilots, a lot of times fighter pilots, teaching them how to pull G's and understand how their body works when you're flying. Additionally, I'm very interested in public affairs as well, which is, I know, we're out here talking.
Well, you're doing a great job.
Yeah,
I think
you're
you'd
on
be
the
a
right
perfect
path.
fit.
Oh, thank you. Yeah, so I love talking with people. I think being an instructor with the Airmanship 490 program definitely has helped prepare me for working with others. And regardless of what job I get, I just love being here and working with others in any field possible. So.
And you've touched on this a few times, but can you explain more of what it's like cadets leading cadets through this program?
Yeah, cadets leading cadets, it's kind of wild actually, because I went from being a student in 490 one year to teaching hundreds of students in just a 1 year turnaround. And it's crazy, but it really shows just how much you can learn, and not only learn from yourself but others in as short as 1 year, and then motivating those that were in your same position not too long ago, and understanding, what challenges they might be facing. I remember that first time I jumped out, how scared I was, and just I've been there and I can help lead them through it.
Yeah.
Well, we need to send McKenna to jump out of a plane with you sometime. So
You should do it.
I would love that.
That would be awesome. We'd love to just have anyone out. We want to show you guys what it's like to get some free fall. So.
Yeah.
Well, ma'am, thank you so much. Best of luck as you finish your last year of school. We're glad that you're here. We're so proud of you for what you've decided to do with your life. We can't thank you enough. And maybe, just maybe, we have a spot at the table next year when you're a public affairs officer, maybe.
That would be amazing. I would
Yeah.
love that.
Yeah, let's do it.
Thank you so much.
All right, let's toss it back out to the air show narrator, Rob Ryder.
That is a 6,000-pound airplane, never designed to go upside down, and put through an 8-point hesitation roll with such skill and such finesse. Put your hands together for Matt Youngkin. Now he's going to set up for a rolling pass as we watch all of that smoke coming from the twin 450 horsepower Pratt & Whitney Wasp Junior radial engines. Matt is going to circle around to the right. He'll be coming around from your right as he sets up for the photo pass. To date, Matt Youngkin has flown over 85 different types of aircraft, from Piper J3 Cubs to the big B-29 Super Fortress, the largest bomber in World War II. Now look carefully, because what just happened is the landing gear got extended. He is now aerodynamically dirty. And I want you to watch what he's going to do next, because an untalented pilot would have this airplane falling out of the sky. This is called the baby elephant waltz. Look at this. In excess of 90 degrees of bank, under perfect control, even though the landing gear is causing significant drag and the turbulence in the wheel wells also degrading the performance of the Twin Beach. Never exceeding 3.8 Gs or minus 1.2 Gs, keeping it well within the range of any standard category aircraft. He'll bring it back around for a slow pass and then come into land. The Twin Beach served as a light cargo and liaison aircraft, an executive transport for high-ranking Army Air Force officials, also as a bombardier trainer, a gunnery trainer, and a navigator trainer. He's going 65 miles an hour, folks. You can drive faster than that. What do you think of Matt Youngkin? This aircraft is known as aircraft engines that service these Pratt & Whitney R985s, and Pratt & Whitney proudly sponsoring Matt Youngkin in today's show. Ladd Gardner Aviation Insurance, Fagan Fighters Restoration, Hartzell Propeller Company of Piqua, Ohio, propellers built on honor, Quality Aircraft Accessories, AC Air Technology for the tugs, ACF 50 Aircraft Lubricants, Acorn Welding for Aircraft Exhaust Systems, Apogee Investments, Champion Aerospace Spark Plugs, CJ Aviation Fuel Pumps, Cleveland Wheels and Brakes, Concord Battery, David Clark Headsets, Davis Field Aviation for Custom Avionics, Eagle Fuel Cells, Goodyear Tire Company, Hooker Harness for Custom Seat Belts, Lift Aviation, McFarland Aviation Services, North Iowa Air Service, Oregon Aero for the seat cushions, Pacific Oil Coolers, Parker Stratoflex aircraft hoses, PS Engineering for aircraft intercom systems, Skyox portable aviation oxygen systems, Softy parachutes for emergency parachuting, Wheelan Aerospace Technologies, and Westfall Aviation. One last big round of applause for Matt Yonkin, everybody. What a tremendous performance. The aircraft from the Tora 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 reenactment of the attack on Pearl Harbor taking to the sky right now. We want to give a great shout out to Atlantic Aviation, who is our official airshow fuel team. Atlantic Aviation crew members are hard at work making sure our aircraft are fueled and ready to fly all weekend. Thank you, Atlantic Aviation. Bob Moore Automotive Group is one of 2 official vehicles for this year's air show. Thanks to Bob Moore, many of our pilots wearing a certain color blue are driving around town in between flying to see all the great sights in Oklahoma City. Be sure to visit Bob Moore if you're thinking about buying a new or used car. Bob Moore has 16 dealerships throughout OKC, Norman, and Tulsa, and 18 great brands to choose from. We have a very few very special community partners, chambers, and CVBs that each year step up to support this air show, open house event in a variety of ways. We want to recognize each: Midwest City Convention and Visitors Bureau, Midwest City Chamber of Commerce, Oklahoma City Convention and Visitors Bureau, Greater Oklahoma City Chamber of Commerce. Be sure to stop by the main hangar, where there are a number of exhibitors, including some of our special sponsors: Boeing, Pratt & Whitney, Northrop Grumman, Spartan College of Aeronautics and Technology, and Rose State College. All of those booths in the main hangar.
Back here at Broadcast Central, Dan Hawkins alongside McKenna Gott. Day 2 of this 2023 Tinker Air Show continuing to fly along. I was almost going to say roll along, but that would be a weird thing. Maybe this was an Army base, we would say that. But delighted now to be joined by Lieutenant Colonel Doug Jeffrey from the 507th Air Refueling Wing, located right here at Tinker Air Force Base. Sir, how are you?
We are doing awesome. I just got here with my daughter, and she's looking up. We're walking through the crowds. Everybody's looking up. She's like looking up. Dad, this is incredible. So it's an awesome show here. We got families from all walks of life here, just hanging out, doing an air show today, and it's a beautiful day. I thought it was going to be like a lot hotter, but it's very nice out today.
Yeah, that's great. Hopefully your daughter is getting inspired by everything going on. See lots of kids walking around out here. It's just awesome to see so many families. But do you remember the first air show that you ever went to?
I do. It was down at Shepherd Air Force Base in Wichita Falls, and I got to go and look at all the different planes. They actually had the Blue Angels there, and it's something that I will always remember, just like that love of flying and just being able to be here to see the kids just to all, and we have some great STEM stuff too. I don't know if we've pointed that. I'm sure you have. But to have the kids here just looking up, watching the planes, and just seeing what it's like to ignite that passion as we love it, especially in the reserves, because we have a lot of citizen airmen here that, bring their families out because they're not all the time working here. But now, we have the Jelly Belly going on right now, and the kids looking up. That's what it is. It's a good to start the passion here.
Yeah, so you touched on it a second ago, but you said citizen airmen, and for some who may not know if they're just tuning in, can you maybe discuss how the Air Force is broke down with active duty, reserve, and guard, and how the 507th fits in, and maybe ways for people to serve in a way they may not be thinking about?
Absolutely. We love that question being in the 507th because we are reservists. Now, I actually served active duty for about 14 years, and then at the time I was like, you know what, it's time to move back to Texas. We moved back to Texas. I was like, I still want to serve. I still want to put on the uniform. I still want to, serve the country. And an opportunity came up with the 507th, and we joined the 507th as a reservist. So I started as a traditional reservist, doing the 1 weekend a month, 2 weeks a year kind of thing. But then I wanted to do more and serve more, and I picked up an active guard reserve, so a full-time position. And there's also air reserve technicians. There's all these different ways that we're paid in the reserve and how we can still serve either part-time or full-time. The 507th, the wing commander, Colonel Parks, he asked me to come be the operations group commander last December. And I said, you know what, I would love to do it. So we have across the base, we have 8 aircraft, KC-135s. We have a mission support group. They're kind of like the mayor of the town, kind of controlling everything from that standpoint. We have the maintenance group has to take care of these aircraft because these aircraft are over 50 years old. I mean, like I was going through my granddad's Army Air Corps sighting manual, and I was flipping through it. And I was like, man, this is awesome because my dad served, my granddad served, and I see these blimps, these biplanes, and I flip through it, and there's the KC-135. I'm like, this plane is old, but it's still running because of the maintenance airmen in the 507. And then we have the operations group, the best group that I love. We also have medical, but all of these groups, I love them all. But the operations group is my favorite, and all the team. It takes a team to come together. And so if you're looking for any type of employment on the base, and maybe not active duty, but you want to still serve in some capacity, come to the reserves. Come check us out. We're all over the air show. There's reservists, and we would love to have a conversation with them because that's what it's all about. It's about having airmen talking to people who are interested in it.
And so maybe for people who don't understand, you can live anywhere else in the U.S. and still come work here. Absolutely.
We have people flung across the nation that come to Tinker Air Force Base, Oklahoma City, that are part of the 507th. One of my squadron commanders down at Altus, he actually lives in Connecticut. So he makes a trip from Connecticut down here. It's an incredible thing to see the airmen from across the nation coming to Tinker Air Force Base on a monthly basis, getting to hang out, getting to see incredible aircraft, whether they're working on it in the back shop, where they're making sure we're getting paid, where they're making sure we have the doctor's appointments. Those are the things that make the reserves an incredible thing.
We're talking with Lieutenant Colonel Doug Jeffrey from the 507th Air Refueling Wing here at Tinker Air Force Base. On your screen right now, of course, Jelly Belly. Just curious, I know this is a little off topic, but you ever flown something like that?
All right, you want to know a secret? So
yeah, I want a secret.
When I was very first flying, the first guy I flew with, he was a crop duster. And so I would go up with this guy, and we would fly a plane very similar to this. So on my third flight up in Quanah, Texas, we're about 1,000 feet up, and the propeller sticks straight up. And I said, that's not good. And he goes, my aircraft. And he grabs the aircraft, and he just glides it in. And so that's the good thing about these tail-dragging aircraft. Very maneuverable. Even if there's a problem, even if there's something going wrong, we have highly skilled aviators that can still land dead stick, going straight in. I kept on flying after that, obviously. So I think
I might have been a little. I might have been a little.
I'm telling you, I was, but he had such experience flying. That's the thing, is that you want to know that we have the world's best, and we really do. We have the world's best aviators, best airmen, bar none.
And speaking of the best aviators in the world, tell us just a little bit about what the 507's actual mission is. What do you do to help America fly, fight, and win?
Absolutely. So we have the 507th has the KC-135, a refueler, the backbone of any missions that we do around the world. Because, when I grew up flying the C-5, big, massive plane flying across the world, and I didn't realize how much gas just the C-5 took. But you talk about these fighters, all these planes, they can stay up for maybe an hour, maybe 2 hours if they're going slow. But if you really want combat effectiveness, combat power, you have to have the gas. So that's what the 507 does. We give gas, we pass gas, and we organize, train, and equip to make sure that we can deploy. And we're actually getting ready to go on a deployment. We're going to send some of our folks out the door to go across the world to give gas to meet the nations. So that's one of the things we're really proud of what we do in the 507th. We also have an alert mission that works with the nukes. We fuel the bombers. So we have people on alert waiting to do whatever the nation calls.
Sir, thank you so much for taking the time to sit and chat with us today, and we are going to take it back out to Show Center.
Awesome. Thank you.
See him trying to work him up there. I don't know if he's going to get it in this time. Maybe the third. I'm going to ask him a third time. A charm. Let's see. Let's see if he goes up. Hey, Kent, looks like you're going to have to go for number 3. Hopefully the third time's a charm. Okay, we'll look for it. Another shot. Now we'll listen for the call. This is the third time, sponsored by Jelly Belly Candy Company of Fairfield, California. 50 varieties of gourmet-flavored jelly beans. 60 miles per hour. Let's see if he can do it. Those Jelly Belly candies were popularized, the jelly beans popularized by then President Ronald Reagan in the White House. Match the speed. Oh, it looks better. It looks better this time. You can see the rudder kicking back and forth. Let's listen, see if he gets them locked in. Oh, I saw it. Then he did it. He did it. He's on there, ladies and gentlemen. Whoa, yeah. Oh, my goodness gracious. That is absolutely fantastic. Way to go, Kent Peach. I bet you do. Have you picked up your free air show map presented by Loves? This free map has lots of information about the air show and an autograph section so you can get your favorite pilot's signature. Thank you, Loves, for sponsoring the air show map. Take some time to go to the north end of the air show to STEM City, presented by the Oklahoma Aeronautics Commission. This year's air show theme is STEM Takes Flight. Be sure to take the kids ages 4 to 12th grades, where there are many interactive activities, including flying drones, robotics, flight simulators, and lots more. This free STEM City has over 20 vendors with a host of STEM-related hands-on activities. Over to the south is the Rise Above exhibit presented by Northrop Grumman. This theater exhibit showcases the Tuskegee Airmen, the first all-black Air Force unit to fly in World War II, and showcases the struggles through which they went to prove themselves. Also, the Rise Above exhibit talks about WASP, the Women's Air Force Service Pilots, who also supported the World War II effort. Be sure to see the authentic and famous Red-Tail P-51 up close and personal that flew earlier with Doug Rosendahl. Thanks to Northrop Grumman for all you do supporting every year and for sponsoring both the P-51 Red Tail and the Wasp exhibit. There are a whole lot of people out there at the air show today, and partially because these great media companies have stepped up to spread the word. We want to thank all of our air show media, Tyler Radio, KOMA, Jake FM, Magic, and KRXO. Also, Bot Radio Christian Statewide Network, El Latino American, Lindmark Outdoor Advertising, Vital Outdoor Advertising, Metro Family Magazine, Tyler Outdoor Advertising, the Midwest City Beacon, Choctaw Times, Mustang Times, Tuttle Times, and the Minco Union City Times, and all our local news stations. A special recognition to Don Hermes with Mind's Eye Advertising, providing an enormous amount of creative artwork and website support. Through their vision and marketing insight, our air show continues to grow from year to year. Don has been our NFE artist for the past 17 years, as well as our web company and 7 air shows. He's responsible for the Tinker Air Show logo, poster, and flyer, and Tinker Air Show map design. Thank you, Don. You make us look so good. Still to come, Team Tinker with a KC-135 and the E3 Sentry aircraft. Kent Peach will be back to do his Interstate Cadet dead stick routine and energy management demonstration. Then the F-35 Lightning II. The Joint Strike Fighter will take the sky here, and we'll also have the very inspiring Heritage Flight. After that, we'll do a demonstration of flybys honoring the Women's Air Force Service pilot, the Wasps. Jeff Shetterly, who flew to open the show with his little short version of his demonstration, will fly the World War II Advanced Trainer, the T-6. We're going to have a photo mission by the CAP, the Civil Air Patrol, and at 3 o'clock, the Blue Angels. Stick around. We want to make sure you get plenty of sunscreen. I'd suggest if you've lathered up once, you might want to lather up again just to make sure that you're not going to get sunburned. And also, make sure you get plenty of water. Stay hydrated. That's a very important deal. We sent a lot of people to the hospital yesterday, sadly, and we don't want to have people losing their spot to enjoy this amazing show today.